And now we leave the expansive showroom of Bike Shop Boxburg, but not empty-handed. In fact, we have this. A Ducati. A brand we love and a brand that has not been on the bike show for ages. It's on the showroom for a price of 139,000 Rand. And this particular bike is a 2004 Diavel 1200. The bad boy in the Ducati hood. The muscle. The brawn. The intimidation. Where most of the other Ducati models focus on lap times and speed, the Diavel does what it likes. And no one has the guts to tell it otherwise.
Bikes like this are incredibly stupid. They're ridiculous, they truly are. There's no point to them. And that's why we love them. That's why they're brilliant. Because motorcycling, it's not about being sensible. I mean, it can be. You can go through traffic, you can save a lot of money on petrol, save a lot of money on everything, and be happier. But mostly about bikes like this, it's just about being happier. You spend a lot of money, and you end up with a bike that serves no real point apart from making your life better. And there is nothing better. This is utterly brilliant.
Indeed, this is a motorcycle that serves the function of being a motorcycle. And if anything, that makes it even more appealing. The modern Diavel has the newer V4 motor, whereas this, stemming from 10 years ago, uses an 1198cc V-twin. The format that made Ducati famous, and that's no surprise.
Now the big trend these days is to go for parallel twin motors, which make a lot of sense. They're a lot easier to build, they're a lot cheaper to build, they're more compact, they fit more easily, and with an irregular firing order they feel similar to a V-twin, but not quite. And Ducati don't do not quite when it comes to feel, and that's why they got a 90-degree V-twin in this thing, and it feels spectacular. There's something about a V-twin or 90-degree V anything, it feels alive. It feels like it's to use a cliche, a beating heart. It does. I'm rumbling along now, not at a fast pace, but there is something, a beating heart, something alive underneath this tank, something growling, something waiting to get out. That's glorious.
It pushes 163 horsepower and 127 Nm of torque, but the maximum output numbers are less important than the fact that this motor has been tuned for grunt at lower down in the rev range, so that the rider can accelerate hard from pretty much anywhere and be greeted with a glorious surge in acceleration, made even more thunderous by that louder aftermarket exhaust. But this is a motorcycle, and even the Diavel is expected to do more than just look cool and cause earthquakes.
Diavels are made to turn corners, but they do handle better than anything else in this sort of class. And a seat is nice and soft and comfortable, so I'm happy there. Dash, no big TFT dash, but there is this little color display, it's quite nice. And life is good. It's got the best of brakes, best of suspension, and life is good. The brakes are from Brembo, who have been top of the braking game for decades. The front forks are from Italian fork experts Mazzocchi, while the rear shock is from German suspension house Sachs. So far so good. But the biggest barrier to owning a Ducati is the price tag. A new V4 Diavel will set you back 442,000 Rand. But not this one. 139,000 Rand for a Ducati. I mean, for that, in the new market you can get a 400cc with quite a few extras, and not much more than that. And now here I am riding a 1200cc Ducati, proper Ducati Diavel, and it feels good, it feels great. But some people might be saying, a 10-year-old Ducati, a 10-year-old Italian bike, is that a good idea? And the answer is, well, in this circumstance, yes. Because the Diavel, unlike some of the sporting Ducatis, which Ducati mostly makes sports bikes, and you just get the feeling that some young whippersnappers sort of pulled the thing out of its bottom around a racetrack and raced the daylights out of its whole life. But with this Diavel, It's got 12,000 kilometers in 10 years. It's hardly been ridden. And most of those I show you were cruises to venues and breakfast runs and short rides. None of it was abusive. And besides, Ducati since the mid-2000s changed the way they did stuff.
Previously, Ducati built everything in-house. Nowadays, they outsource the components to experts. We already mentioned that the brakes and forks come from Italian factories, the rear shock is from Germany, while the fuel injection comes from Mitsubishi in Japan. The ignition is from Magneti Marelli, and most of the rest of the components come from all over the world. They are all then nailed together at the Ducati factory before being sent to showrooms. So what we're actually seeing in modern Ducatis is an accumulation of experts from all over the world.
It's a good motorcycle, and it's well looked after. The guys at Boxberg, yeah, you can see they've kind of done a good job with this thing.